Do you feel like you have a decent tone? You play with good intonation and you follow all the printed bowings and rhythms, and sometimes you even manage to work in some dynamics. You're doing everything right, but it still doesn't sound the way you want it to. Hi, I'm Laura from Meadowlark Violin, and today I'm going to be talking about the 5 things, in my opinion, that make a professional sound like a professional. And at the end, I'll talk about 2 things that you might think make you sound like a professional, but really don't contribute to that professional sound. Number 1, bow speed. We talk a lot about tone when it comes to the violin. Producing a good, even tone without any scratchy sounds is something that usually takes some time to develop. But when you do get control of that tone, you'll probably notice that you still don't sound exactly like your teacher or other professionals. And I think the difference is the ability to control your bow speed and the ability to change bow speed very quickly. For instance, watch this clip of Yehudi Menuhin playing the Bach double with David Oistrakh. Notice how Oistrakh is using a lot of bow. In fact, he's using almost his entire bow for several notes. And when Menuhin starts, you'll notice the same thing. Notice how he is using his entire bow for some very quick notes. Those are actually just eighth notes in the music, and he's using his entire bow. On the opposite end of the spectrum, notice here how Gidon Kramer is moving his bow extremely slowly, but still using the entire bow and still getting a good tone. Being able to move your bow very quickly and being able to move your bow very slowly and producing a good tone takes a lot of control and a lot of practice. But being able to control your bow speed isn't just about playing really, really slow or playing really, really quickly. It's about being able to change the bow speed depending on what you're playing. You may find that in one single note, your bow speed varies greatly to produce different variations in the sound from the beginning of that note to the end. And that's going to help you get a beautiful, professional sounding tone. Number 2, bow weight. Being able to control the amount of weight you put into the bow is directly correlated to the bow speed at which you move your bow. Now, there's always an optimum amount of weight depending on your bow speed and where you are in the bow, whether you're in the lower half, the middle, or the upper half. And the ability to adjust your bow weight to match your bow speed is crucial to getting a more refined and professional sound. Now, it takes quite a bit of trial and error for your muscles to learn exactly how much weight is needed for every single possible bow speed and for the location of where you are in the bow. The lower half will need a different amount of weight than the upper half. When you're moving your bow very, very quickly, it's going to need a different amount of weight than if you're moving your bow very slowly. That's a lot of variables. And this is where playing open strings and experimenting with different amounts of weight and speed will really pay dividends and help you use weight to develop that luscious, beautiful, even tone. Contact point. The contact point is where the bow contacts the string in relation to the bridge and the fingerboard. Usually the standard contact point that you learn is right in the middle, in between the bridge and the fingerboard. However, you can move between the bridge and the fingerboard, move that contact point closer to the fingerboard, and you'll get a softer, more piano sound. Move the bow closer to the bridge and you'll get maybe a more forte sound or a kind of a gruffer sound. Now, contact point, bow weight, and bow speed are the different things that change the quality of the sound. Now, that's assuming that you're doing everything else correctly with your bow hold. If you change the contact point, you'll also have to change the bow weight and the bow speed. Those 3 things all work in relation to each other, and the ability to vary the sound by varying these 3 components is crucial to developing that color and beautiful tone and variation in your tone that professionals have. Again, this is where open strings and experimenting really helps you develop that professional sound. Number 4, phrasing. Music is built up of phrases. You can think of a phrase as a sentence or a paragraph. Now imagine if someone were reading out loud with zero inflection or variation in their voice. It would get very boring. Now let's say some person just added some loudness and softness to their voice so that some words were loud and some words were soft. That still sounds pretty strange and unnatural. Now imagine someone speaking and there's constant variation in their voice. Through all the variation, they lead you up to the most important word that they are trying to say. That is phrasing. Phrasing is not written in the music. It must be interpreted by the musician and communicated through bow speed, bow weight, and contact point. Now notice I didn't say dynamics are crucial to getting a professional sound. It's phrasing, not dynamics. What's the difference? Well, dynamics are things that are written down and followed. It's the same thing as saying something really loud and then saying something really quietly. As a musician, you have to determine what happens in between those printed, written dynamics. You have to determine the most important notes, the climaxes of phrases, and the denouements, and how to communicate that to your listener. That is phrasing. It requires forethought and a lot of planning, but that's what gives you the sound you're looking for. You literally have to have a plan for every single note. Number 5, right hand finger flexibility and control. Your right hand fingers are the mechanisms through which bow weight, bow speed, and contact point are controlled. And thus your fingers and your arm are also how you control phrasing. Your right hand fingers and muscles need to be able to perform very minute and very specific muscular tasks. So how do you get your muscles to perform like that? Well, you have to train them. How do you train them? Well, that's a pretty expansive topic, but I actually have a course that teaches you how to have better bow control and relaxation and how to develop those muscles, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. Now you'll notice 5 out of 5 of those items had to do with your bow. I haven't even mentioned the left hand, but now I'm going to talk about the left hand because I want to talk about the 2 things that don't really play a part in making someone sound like a professional. Number 1, intonation. Correct intonation is kind of a given. There's really no variation or interpretation when it comes to intonation. Something is either in tune or it's not. There's not really any in between. Now, playing in tune won't automatically make you sound like a professional. I think of it as more of a prerequisite than a qualification. You do need to play in tune, but it's not going to automatically make you sound like a professional. The second thing that doesn't really contribute to that professional sound, and that's vibrato. Now, everyone tends to think professionals sound good because of vibrato. It's easy to see why. It's the most visibly obvious thing that makes professionals seem like they are professionals. But vibrato is just icing on the cake. It's what professionals are doing with the bow that gives them that amazing variation and quality of sound. Now, it's the things that you can't see as easily, like controlling the bow speed, the bow weight, and the contact point that give music its different emotions, its moods, and its colors. The vibrato can add some color and variation, but compared to what the bow can do, it's honestly kind of one-dimensional. I'm not saying it's not important. It definitely contributes to a professional sounding like a professional. But again, it's icing on the cake. And if you don't have a good cake to start with, the icing doesn't really matter. So to sum it up, if you want to start sounding more like a professional, start working on your bow technique and control. We all start off thinking that the left hand is where it's at when it comes to learning the violin. But I think eventually all violinists come to this epiphany where they realize that the bow is truly the heart and soul of your playing. The sooner you realize that and work towards that mastery, the sooner you'll start producing the same quality and variation of sound that makes professionals sound like professionals. I'm Laura from Meadowlark Violin. Happy practicing.